If Australia had the same firearm death rate as Colombia in 2010, how many firearm deaths would Australia have been expected to have in 2010? Express your answer to the nearest whole number. So we're playing the what if game here. So you can remember that we're going to want to use, a comparison of Australia to Colombia, and we're talking about firearm deaths. So if you go back to your table that you have, the two pieces of information that we know are firearm deaths and population. So in my numerator, I'm going to use firearm deaths. In my denominator, I'm going to use the population. So that's how I'm going to put together my proportion. Now remember that it says how many would Australia have been expected. So the firearm deaths of Australia is what we're trying to decide. If Australia was like Colombia in the death rate by firearm, right? So we're taking Colombia as they are, and we're figuring out how Australia would compare. So based off our table, we're going to need the population of Australia and then both pieces of information from Colombia. So I'm going to take those three, I'm going to put them in the appropriate spot in the table. So Australia has a population of 22.3 million, while Colombia has a population of 46.3 million. Since both populations are in millions, we can keep them, right? It's about being consistent. Colombia had 13,029 firearm deaths. And now we have our proportion set up so we can go ahead and actually solve this. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this so I can show the steps of solving. So recall that in a proportion, we cross multiply. So when I go 22.3 times 13,029, I end up with 290,546 and 7/10. The other direction, I have 46.3 times x. So this equal sign splits our equation equally. And now to get x by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 46.3. On the right, when you divide 46.3 by 46.3, we're left with just one x. And on the left, I have 6,275.3. Well, it said round to the nearest whole number. So I look at my decimal 3 rounds down. So my answer is going to just be 6,275. So this is what Australia would have expected. Just in case you were wondering, the actual for Australia was 236. So, more than 6,000 more firearm deaths would be expected if Australia had a death rate for firearms proportional to that of Colombia.